one thing that I want to say is Arsenal are showing now they desperately needed a midfielder. The fact that they're looking at Onana, all the reports here, I mean, I wouldn't even say this is like a PR thing. Ornstein has reported it. Fabrizio, Charlotte Ducker, Sammy McBell, every journalist now are picking up different sound bites. And what they're now saying is that you've inquired to Chelsea and Jorginho, and a bid could happen. The Jorginho is an option in case the Caicedo deal does not go through. No word yet as to whether or not Jorginho would want to join Arsenal. I'm not saying that he wouldn't, but there's no word yet to say that he would. Would you be happy with that move, Igal, for a player of Jorginho's level to come in and give you that extra bit of bite in the middle, extra player in the middle between now and the end of the season? Would Jorginho do it for you?
Jorginho is a different profile to Partey. He's better than Lokonga. I could talk myself into it, but if I'm going to be honest, I don't really want Jorginho. That's the reality. I'm looking at Jorginho and I'm saying to myself, his strengths. His strengths are ball progression and everything else, and playing from the back out. I get that, and he'd be a decent. He's a different type of DM to what Partey is. But with Odegaard dropping in deeper, helping out Partey, Xhaka being more advanced, it doesn't really. Then it leaves us more. It leaves us weaker defensively because Partey covers so much ground. Partey recovers so many balls. Partey is the solid defense behind. He's helping the defense be as solid as it is, with him being at the back, covering up and all the mistakes that we make in the midfield and in the defense. So if we get a Jorginho, will we have the same issues Chelsea have defensively, where Jorginho can't track back, can't cover the space, won't be able to recover as much, won't be able to be that protector. But when he receives the ball and helps us progress, we'll be able to progress the ball better. But at the same time, we'll be weaker defensively.
No, I mean, for me, I think, and knowing Jorginho very well, see, Jorginho's daddy is Sarri. And I think you have certain players who they need their daddy in their team. And Sarri's system is catered for and made for Jorginho specifically. I can understand Jorginho to Arsenal in terms of Arsenal, for 90% of most games they control per possession. So if Arsenal are in possession, Jorginho is good at keeping possession. But the issue though is that Arsenal, they move the ball very quickly and they need the midfield to be mobile. And I don't think that there's enough aggression, specifically without the ball in Jorginho. Jorginho is horrendous defensively. The amounts of goals Chelsea have conceded directly because of Jorginho making a defensive mistake is crazy. And I just think that for Arsenal's midfield, with whether it's with Xhaka, Partey, and so forth, you need that guy to win the ball. Hence why Caicedo makes a lot more sense, because he's good on the ball, but also defensively as well, he can win the ball back. So Jorginho, I can understand it in sense of possession, because Arsenal keep possession, but bro, I don't think what he gives you in possession doesn't make up for what you will get, or what you don't get from him defensively. So his defensive liabilities far outweigh what he does well with the ball.
Who are the other options then for Arsenal? I mean, they've mentioned Onana.
Okay.
I mean, because the fact that you're looking at these midfielders, I mean, it's obvious you need one and that the club wants to buy one. You saw the drop off. You know, I thought you were very good against City the other day until Lokonga comes in, and I suppose that is the big fear for Arsenal fans, that Partey picked up, you know, his hamstring snaps. He's out for 2 months. So what else do you do then, Igal?
This is what I would do. Personally, you go and bid whatever your highest price is you're willing to bid for Casado. If they don't take it, you try a thing for Onana. If that doesn't work, your last option, you go and see if you can turn Martin Zubamendi's head, and because he has a 52 million release clause, and reportedly we've already spoken to him. Those are our options. I don't feel like Jorginho. He's 30 years old. I get it. He's experienced. He'd come in. He has that winning experience at Chelsea. But let's be honest. I don't feel like Jorginho is anything similar to what we have as Thomas Partey. So we'll be playing a different style. And defensively, against the top teams, I don't know if we're going to even be using Jorginho. Jorginho might be a player that we use against the smaller teams, or we might see a different lineup completely with Jorginho, Partey, and thing. But for now, we're 24 hours away from the window closing. All the murmurs of all these other half stories are going to come out, Terry. I don't believe it. I don't think Arsenal want him, and I hope we don't sign him personally. If he comes in and he proves me wrong, I'll hold my hand up. But at this moment in time,
you don't believe that David Ornstein, like you believe David Ornstein has made this up?
No, I'm not saying he's made it up. Clearly, we're linked to the player because we're linked to the player, right? But I'm saying I don't believe we're going to now go and sign the player. I don't believe we're going to go out of our way and bring in a Jorginho. I think we're still going to try to look at other options before we go for Jorginho, because Jorginho is now being linked to us 24 hours before the deadline.
But Gal, that's the problem, though.
He could be the last resort. That he seems like the last resort.
But Gal, don't you realize that the deadline is so soon? So you're having to go to your last resort. So there's not enough time for you to go and look at all these other targets.
I'll say it, as I said it before. If he comes in and wins us the Premier League, I'll shut my mouth and I'll be happy. If he comes in, I will have to talk myself into it. But at this moment in time, I don't want Jorginho. I don't want Arsenal to go and sign Jorginho. I feel like Jorginho will make us change the way that we play, and it will not be suited to what we're doing at this moment in time. Defensively, I feel like he's a liability. And at Chelsea, he's currently on decent wages, so I understand why the wages would happen. We've been linked to him before. It makes sense. But overall, I think we should still be going for Caicedo. And if you don't get Caicedo, go get Onana or somebody else.
What question I would have for that then, and this is just to get your take, because you're someone who's kind of pushed this notion of Arsenal shouldn't overspend. But if the choice is between Jorginho and overspend to get Caicedo, do you now go and pay the 90 million, 95 million, or do you take an even bigger risk and sign no one, Igal? What would you, like, you've got to make that decision, Jorginho or overpay for Caicedo or get nobody? Which of the in from worst choice to best choice, what are you doing?
They're both better than Lokonga. That's the reality. But so you need to bring somebody in. That's one. Number two, I would be willing to bite the bullet and spend more money as a club as long as it guarantees us cover, and the player like Caicedo will be well worth the money. I genuinely believe if we overpay for Caicedo, it'd be well over the money. And I don't care as long as we win the Premier League. I don't give a shit if we overspend for Caicedo. And I don't think anybody here as an Arsenal fan cares. It's not like we're signing Nicolas Pepe. It's not like we're going out of our way to go spend £100 million on a striker this window that we can't guarantee us goals. Caicedo comes in, he's not going to start week in, week out. He's offering us squad depth. And if Partey, the worst thing could happen to us, Partey gets injured, we have Caicedo. Xhaka gets injured, we have Caicedo, we can move Partey into that place. If we bring in Jorginho, guess what? If Partey gets injured and Jorginho comes in and he can't physically actually cover the role that Partey does, we're in the same position as we would be right now.
See, I agree with you. Overspending isn't an issue ever.
I agree with that as well.
You've got to spend. And like, listen, my football club has had a number of players that we've overspent on in our history. And forget the ones that haven't worked since we've been run poorly. But we've had a number of occasions where we've paid probably more than we wanted to. We probably didn't want to pay £27 million for Rio Ferdinand when he came in. But look how well he did for us. We didn't want to spend 30 million on Wayne Rooney in 2004. Newcastle, though, pushed that price up by going in for him. And look how it worked out. Now, £30 million in the early noughties was a lot of money for a footballer. It's the equivalent now of £150 million for somebody in terms of the inflation. I've been quite sick to my back teeth of hearing a small percentage of Arsenal fans talk about, no, we can't overspend. We don't want to break budgets. We don't want to give too much wages out. I've even heard some Arsenal fans say they wouldn't even pay. They wouldn't go over 200 grand a week for Saka. We've got to keep the wage structure low. It keeps everybody hungry. And I'm like, you're actually all, yeah. I mean, I've heard these things. I've been shown the screenshots from group chats. I'm like, you lot are crazy. This is why Arsenal fell off. You fell off from the mid noughties until now because you didn't pay your players the going rate, and you wouldn't pay. You guys could have signed Luis Suarez in his pomp. And that's not a dig. This is
you trying to remind man of that, bro. I'm telling you, it's madness.
This is the thing, though. So whenever I hear an Arsenal fan say we don't want to overpay, we don't want to come outside the process. Listen, the process is a guideline. The process is a guideline Arsenal will stick to.
To be fair, though, Terry, sorry to interrupt you. I think that's just a small amount of Arsenal fans, because obviously I'm quite connected with a lot of the Arsenal fan base, and to be honest with you, I don't think many Arsenal fans are too asked about overspending, because it's not like we have overspent over years on players here and there. Players that we have spent money on, i.e. Ozil came in, won us a couple FA Cups, Aubameyang come in, got us goals, got us an FA Cup. The only person that we've actually overspent on and never really got a return from is Nicolas Pepe. So when it comes to overspending, I haven't got a problem with it. If you need to overspend, go and overspend and pay, because people are looking at Arsenal right now in this position, going for the title. They're going to be pulling your pants down regardless. And we have to do that. I think with the Jorginho situation, I think there probably is truth in it, because Arsenal, we're very slow at getting signings over the line. It takes us ages and ages and ages to actually bring people through the door. So if this Caicedo deal is looking like it's going to be off, it probably wouldn't surprise me that they're going in for Jorginho, because they'll be panicking a little bit, knowing after Partey come off against Man City in the FA Cup, it was it looked like a different game to me. And I think Arteta stood there, looked at it and thought, we're definitely going to need to bring some kind of player in. You know what I mean? But
Ramsey, are you not afraid that like, because we all know this has happened with Arsenal in the past, where you guys have, as Terry highlighted, like you've stuck to this structure of the Arsenal way, and it's caused you guys to underachieve eventually because you've not gone out there and just
let me answer that.
done.
I don't think.
Let me just get around to the whole question. Do you think that if we look at, let's say, 6 months' time where you don't win the title, is this going to be one of the key moments where because you didn't pay what the club needed or get the deal done earlier and bring in the players you need, that this is going to be one of the moments where you look at your board and say, we went wrong yet again, where we could have signed and just spent the extra money, brought the player that we need in and won the trophy? Obviously not that easy, but improved the squad when needed, rather than cutting back on losses and saying, you know what, let's go for Jorginho, who's a bit cheaper, he'll work for now.
No, I agree with you, bro. If we don't bring in a player to cover the midfield role, it is going to be a detriment to the club and potentially the position that we're in. You got to look at it. We need to learn from our mistakes. Last January come, we let Aubameyang go. We didn't recover his goals, and that ultimately put us behind you by a point or two, which was in one of them games. If we brought a striker in, I could probably guarantee that we would have won one of them games. Somebody would have came in and made a difference. So they have to learn from the mistakes. But I think in recent times, if we're talking over the last maybe 10 years or so, Arsenal haven't really stuck to a budget too tough. They put Aubameyang on big wages. They put Mesut Ozil on big wages. Alexis Sanchez was on big wages. A lot of the club was on big wages. It's only now Mikel Arteta's come into the team, he's actually rejigged it about and started to level it out where there's a bit more financial freedom in the sense of having players in the team and being able to optimize bringing players into the club. But to answer your question, 100%, bro, we know if we're sitting here as Arsenal fans knowing that we need to bring in a midfielder, yous are all sitting there as Tottenham, Liverpool, United fans knowing that we need it. The board needs to take a good long look at themselves. And this is why I think they will give the extra money for Caicedo. I think, like I said, it could be a smokescreen with the Jorginho situation and Arsenal saying that they're putting an offer in there because they know Brighton could be in a little bit of a pickle now with the player and his mentality and trying to push it over that way. But at the same time, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if they were going for Jorginho and it was all true, because it takes us ages to get players over the line.
Primsy, let me just say this. Jorginho, I think me and you both agree that he's similar. He's not similar to Partey, and you'd rather have.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him.
Would you rather also have Onana over Jorginho? Because I'd rather have Onana also. I feel like
I would.
It's not only about the age; it's about the fact that he could be an understudy to Partey and develop into that role. Then you go to Tielemans. I don't want Tielemans. I don't want him anymore. I don't think he's a DM at this moment in time. All he is, he's better than Lokonga. He would come in and he wouldn't really move the needle for me too much. I don't know about that. I don't know.
I think Tielemans, if he was to come in, I think he's just going to be a bit more of a backup to a Granit Xhaka rather than a number 6. I think obviously that box-to-box player, we've seen him play for Belgium and stuff like that. I don't think he's going to be. Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say now. This is why the board, the manager, the club in a whole need to take a good long look at themselves, quickly rewind back to January and see where they messed up. But I don't think that daft as well. I do think that the Arsenal, look, the Man City game, I'll be honest with you, Arteta, everybody here now can see Arteta as a manager. He's very vocal. He's very energetic on the sidelines. I went to that game. He wasn't very energetic and he wasn't very vocal. By the team that he put out, I could see that he was trying to prioritize the Premier League, because if you was going to want to win that game, be in your next game playing in 8 games, you would have put your strongest lineup out, where he didn't prioritize that. Now he knows that we might not be in this position again for a long time. There's nothing is a given in the Premier League. You don't know who's going to be challenging at the top. And I think they want to go for it now. And I think maybe, signing Caicedo, I think that would be the right kind of signing. And it wouldn't surprise me if he does get signed. Trust me, I think he will get signed.
Primsy, I think Caicedo is where it should be at. And the reason I say people don't want to overspend, I always think it depends on what side of the story we're on. So if, for instance, you end up with Jorginho and Arsenal will probably come out with a statement like we weren't prepared to pay above and beyond the asking price, and you would just get what annoys me, and this isn't a dig at Arsenal because I say it about my own club, which everyone on the show will attest to, is when they say that and the accounts go, yeah, we're right not to overspend. It sets a bad precedent for the future. I saw Arsenal fans saying this about the Mudryk deal. We were right not to do it, right not to do it. But for me, that's just weird fan accounting. From my standpoint, it should be a case of get out there, get the players over the line that you need. And you need a midfielder right now. So I think if you bid 80 and they say it's got to be 90, then just spend 90 on him, because 90 million on Caicedo is a better long-term investment than probably if you spent 29 million on Trossard, you're spending 27. You're going to spend 27 to 30 million on a 30-year-old Jorginho. So and he's probably going to be on double the wages that Caicedo would be on. So you add that up, you're not that far away from the same overall the cost, if that makes sense. So for me, I would expect Arsenal to go and put that bid in if they were my club. The only reason I'm not angry at Man United this window for not spending like I would be is I know our owners are leaving. So from my standpoint, it's just not worth the energy kicking off over something that in about 6 weeks, we're going to have new owners. So there's just no point anymore.